So,
As long as I don't have to read.
yeah, so let's talk about why language is a barrier to us. Aside from the fact that you can't really read Moreh Nevuchim or any of the greats because you don't understand their language, you cannot read Aristotle, you won't really understand what he's talking about. And these are very smart people who have thought about these matters. Eitan, can you translate the word commitment, mitzvah?
Mitzvah. Just based on what you said, I'm going to say commitment. But before that, I would have said something like a good deed.
A good deed. Okay. Anyone else want to try?
Commandment.
Commandment. You're all wrong. It's not what Judaism says. So, where do you get your ideas from? Well, how the heck would I know? But I can imagine you got it from the Art Scroll, you got it from the Bible, King James version of the Bible somewhere. And somewhere along the way, mitzvah got translated as commandment, and that's a use of language, but it's false. And most of the terminology that we use is false terminology. That's a very harsh thing to say because it means you have no idea what you're talking about when you see things. My personal pet peeve is when people start talking about the seven Sfirot and Kabbalah, I know that they're ready for the insane asylum because they have no clue what they're talking about. So if I go to a class and a rabbi's telling me about the Sfirot, I know that he has no clue what in the world he's talking about. So we have a language barrier that we're going to get around, but it's a real barrier to understanding what life is about. And I'll give you another one. What does the word zechus mean? It's a
memory.
What?
In memory.
Oh, merit.
Or in honor.
Merit. Chaim Baruch says merit.
Merit.
Eitan's right. There is a usage in memory of, in zechus of, in merit of. Anyone else?
Merit.
Merit. So in merit of, in honor of somebody, let's say. So we talk about amassing zechusim. So when we talk about that, that's not what the word zechus means. Zechus means to refine. The root of the word zechus is zach, which is pure. Shem and Zai is zach. So what does the word mitzvah actually mean? What does the word mitzvah mean?
I would think good deed, but now
Good
that I'm
deed,
thinking,
command.
No, but now that I'm thinking, the shirish might be mitzvah. I don't know. What's
Go ahead, Etzikel.
To command.
Command. So
I just
it's
said
not
tzav.
right. Tzav. So you both say tzav is the command. You're both wrong again. Sorry.
No, but yeah.
Because the Torah says clearly, ain't tzav. Don't abuse this now, guys. But the Torah says ain't tzav ela lashon zeros, encouragement. So
Right, Rashi and Vayikra.
Rashi and Vayikra. So somehow the word mitzvah, which means a form of encouragement, we have to talk about how it's applied, but it means a form of encouragement. It's not mitzvah. It's ain't tzav ela lashon zeros. Famous Rashi.
Right. No, correct. But zeros is encouragement.
Encouragement, yeah.
Translate that for
I
me.
thought zeros was.
Ain't tzav. There was no usage in the Torah of tzav, ella, except lashon in a connotation of zeros to encourage one. And when we say encourage, what does that mean if I'm going to encourage you?
I thought there's a reason like team in the mitzvah. I thought it means to hurry up.
To be hurried, to be encouraged.
To encourage. Okay.
To be encouraged.
Okay.
The Zoras is one who is enthused. It's a lashon of enthusement, of
right.
encouragement.
Okay.
So when Rashi says, quoting Chazal, that mitzvah means ain't tzav el lashon zeros, it's a meaning of encouragement. What does the word encouragement mean? When I want to encourage somebody, what am I really doing?
You're being mechazik then.
I'm being mechazik him. Why does he need chizuk?
Why is not the question?
No, I want to know. I'm encouraging the guy. That means what is he missing that I'm going to provide? He's missing.
It's like when you hike up a mountain.
Yeah.
Go. It's a little bit more, a little more.
All right, so let me ask you a little bit more. So let me ask you a question. If you didn't want to do something and really didn't want to do it, can you say you're encouraging the person to do it? The guy, Itzikel, comes with me to Canadian Rockies, Jasper, And he says, I really, 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 in his heart, he really doesn't want to do it.
No, if he went with you to Jasper,
He wants to do
then
it.
he's doing it.
Oh.
If he doesn't go with you to Jasper,
He doesn't want to
then-
do it.
Right. So once he's in Jasper, you're encouraging him.
Right.
While he's still here, you're convincing him.
I'm convincing him.
Yeah.
So,
there's a difference.
yeah. And if I was his mother, I could
do
say,
patch.
I'm going to command you, you
Correct.
have to do this.
Okay.
So Chazal say
what's
a
the word
mitzvah.
for command?
Command is you. It's an order.
No, but what's the word? It's not sav.
It's not sav.
So what is it?
Pikud.
Okay.
Well, pikud is a variation of it, but it would, the common term would be pikud.
Okay. Which
So-
we don't have in the Torah.
Yeah. So, the way we translate mitzvah in Judaism is not that you're commanded to do that which you don't want to do, because that's what a command is. You're going to do something you don't want to do, but it's to encourage you to do something that you want to do. You need encouragement to do it, which implies what we call natural state, which is something that all the philosophers talk about. It implies that the natural state of the human being is to want to do these things, but we need encouragement, so we get mitzvahs to encourage us. But not that we're being commanded to do something that we don't want to do. So the implication of that is that we're doing something that runs with our nature versus counter to our nature. So if I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, it's a command. You have to do it. It's counter to what I want to do. So if we want to use the ancient philosophers' terminology of natural state, the natural state of the human being is he wants A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the human being really wants that. But you need encouragement to get to that. But not that you're being asked to do something that runs counter to your nature or that you don't want to do.
Do something what they want to do, and you're encouraging them to do it.
So,
That's what-
therefore, I say to you, no matter how wise and educated you are, they screwed you up in terms of terminology. Because you got all this terminology, you never analyzed it, you never thought about it, and you have no idea what it's talking about. You hear these terms and you think you know what they mean, because you didn't take the time to think about it, because it takes effort to think about it, and then you get all these assumptions, and they form psychological blocks in your brain. And you think a mitzvah is I'm being commanded to do something. I'm being commanded. What does that mean? It means I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I have to do it. I don't want to do it right away. My back is up. Don't you tell me what to do. Oh, you can tell me, okay, you're stronger than me, God. Okay, I'll have to do it. So the way our language has worked is we have built up in our heads an adversarial relationship with religion for all of us. And that's the point of bad language, is that bad language puts us at a disadvantage for true spirituality because of what this is doing to us, because we have bad ideas. Yes, hi, Bar.
So, I heard.
Let Eitan go first because he's
Oh,
on
okay.
speaker. Go ahead, Eitan.
So because we're commanded to do it, we're naturally built like a not a hatred, but a regret towards it, as opposed to encouragement, which would create more love.
This is
Ah,
self. This is self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What they did to you when you went to your Marak school, and what they did to Chaim Burak when he went to his yeshiva school, and what they did to Doc when he went to his public school, and what our bad language has done is we're not really thinking people. I mean, we're experiential people. So we take all these ideas, and this is the first of 3 blocks. We adopt language. The language is bad language, and it puts us at a disadvantage to program us that, what does this have to do with me? And they have made, and this is a very critical point, they have made spirituality external to who we are. As it's not who we are, but there's spirituality, and I'm going to become spiritual. And when perhaps true spirituality is not about being commanded to do what you don't want to do, it's not about being forced to do what you don't want to do, it's not about being compelled, it's not about being ordered with resistance, but it's about finding one's true self. And to find your true self, you need encouragement. So we're going to encourage you, and the purpose of a mitzvah is to encourage you to do that. But I'm only getting digressed into the mitzvah piece because we're not going to talk about mitzvahs here. We're going to dafka keep away from mitzvahs. But I want you to get a flavor for how bad your education has been. Go ahead.
So, just I want to share a cute word that feeds into this. So, if it's the right thing to do, why do we need encouragement? Because, if it's the right thing, just go and do it. Every person has two hearts. They have two hearts. They're good. They're called Yetzirah, Yetzirah, whatever you want to call it. That's Pshat and Krishma. B'haftas Hashem lekecha b'chol levavcha. It could be b'chol lev.
Right. B'chol levav, both your hearts. Yeah. So, number one, language. When we have the real conversations, is we're going to go through language that's authentic language. Number two, you ready for the second? Any comments on the first one?
I think it's very powerful.
Okay, 1A, and then we'll go to 2. Not to lose this critical point, is that by saying...
I would just ask you, what the difference between a command and a decree is?
A commandment and a decree. So a commandment usually is personal. A decree is a form of law. So when you make a decree, you're making a global law for a nation. And when a commandment is an individual obligation. So 1 is we're going to fix your language. 1A is that the bad language has led us to believe that spirituality and doing the right thing is external to us, and we really don't want to do it, but we're being compelled to do it, so you have no choice. God is all powerful. You're going to go ahead and do it, or so help me God, as they say in court. Like they're going to kill you if you don't do it. And that's bad. Secondly, in the West, the world we grew up in, we have no clarity of what our true self is, what the true human being is. And we define religion and spirituality. And this is now leaning from 1A to 2. We define religion and spirituality as completely external to the human being. So we're starting from the outside of the human being. What we're going to do is, and that's a handicap for you, we're not going to talk about mitzvahs. We're going to use authentic language, no platitudes, but we're going to start from inside the human being. And we're only going to talk about what goes on inside our souls as humans, and we're going to work our way outward from there. So we're going to start with trying to understand what we like, what we don't like. 3 is the fact that we are all exceptionally lazy. And I know it because I spent 2 years learning Mara Nevuchim. And it were difficult ideas, and I broke my head on them. And I've read a modest amount of philosophy, and I've always found it to be hard to think about, to read and analyze and write and invest effort in it. And I think most of my life is living an experiential life with my experiences. Even when I'm learning, I'm not learning ideas of life. I'm learning ideas about Torah. I'm learning ideas about mitzvahs. I'm learning ideas about the world. But to really understand life requires to delve into the human soul. And that takes so much effort that most of us never do it. And then we wonder why we need ayahuasca to make us happy, or we need sex to make us happy, or we need food or money to make us happy. Because essentially, our natural state is not a satisfied state. Because we've never invested the effort to figure it out. So, if we want to figure all this out, we really have to delve into the human soul and psyche, and the inside of the human soul.
You think that comes from laziness?
Yeah, it's effort.
Can you just say that again? You said that you had experiential life.
Most of life is experiential, rather than thinking through what are the principles of life and the fundamentals of life. So I'm going to use one example, and then you're going to have an exercise to do. And then if you don't do the exercise, you're going to get kicked out of the class and not be invited back for part 2 because it's a tough exercise. So I can't do this work for you. You got to do it yourself. So let me use the example, okay? To understand human beings. I'm going to pick one value that I believe is universal, and I'm going to prove to you beyond reasonable doubt that it's universal. How can I prove that something is universal? How can I prove that to you?
Through a common belief
Everyone
system.
agrees. So what I'm going to
Through a
do
common
is
belief system.
common belief system. I'm going to take
So who
something,
says that system?
and whatever we take,
That's a belief.
listen up, boys. Whatever we take is going to have to be equally applicable to Eitan Friedman, Steve Reish, Itzikel, Chaim Borach, Toli, myself, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Yoshe Bar Soloveitchik, and Adolf Hitler.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow. If it's not applicable to Adolf Hitler and Rav Moshe Feinstein, yeah,
There's always one kid that thinks he can do the homework quicker. I'm thinking of something that I might be thinking of something like universal.
go ahead.
Empathy.
Empathy, okay, that's a good one. We're going to put it down.
Adolf Hitler?
Put it down on your list. He had a certain empathy for people, for his own people. He had empathy.
His people, of course.
Yeah. I mean, so he can put that down, and that's okay to be a kid. Let me ask you a question.
I think
What did
happiness-
Hitler promise to do for the German people?
Give them pure race.
Well, that wasn't what it was about. I'll send you.
Give them a good life.
I'll send you this morning. If you did now, I'll send you the. He did not promise them a good life.
No?
I will send you George Orwell's review of Mein Kampf. Let me post it right now
You ever
on the
read it?
chat.
You ever read Mein Kampf?
I did read Mein Kampf. How can I not read Mein Kampf? I want to understand life. What, I'm going to read Rav Moshe Feinstein? That's going to tell me what Rav Moshe Feinstein wants. I want to know what Hitler wanted.
Is it worth reading?
You know what I said?
What'd you say?
You want to do away with our conscience.
Well, you want to do away with your conscience. That's correct. But that doesn't give me the full piece yet. Let me give you a piece that might be helpful here.
The Jews are the conscience of the world.
Well, the language he used for a moment, and this is just one example of many, the language he used was he was going to unify the German people. And he spoke constantly of the disunity of the German people and how democracy was divisive. And he said one rule: if you want to unite, if you want to be strong, you have to unite. If you want to unite, you can't have parties arguing with each other because that's division. So give me your will and I will represent all of you as one. So there's one man who is the embodiment of the German people's will. I'm going to unify all that will into one person so that we are a unified nation. So he said, you know why we lost the war? Because the politicians were fighting and the emperor was fighting and the Kaiser and the army and people weren't united. That's why we lost the war. And the Jews were disuniting us. I'm going to unite you. And once you're united, we're going to be harmonious people. The German people will be one. That desire of the German people to be one was very deep-rooted. We're going to go into why it was so deep-rooted, but it was very deep-rooted. He said, I'm going to make you one. But to do that, I'm going to ask you for a small sacrifice, my friends. That sacrifice is you have to deposit your will in one man who represents the will of the people. Who's that guy going to be? It's me. And if you read Orwell, because he was a Jesus-like figure. I carry the suffering of the German people. My life, I'm not going to get married. My life is the German people. I'm not rich. I'm not living like the emperor. I'm not living like the Kaiser, like the Tsar, like the Queen of England, the King of England. I'm not living high in the hod. I am sacrificing for the German people. I do not promise you an easy life. To the contrary, I'm going to give you a life of struggle. I'm going to give you a life of death. I'm going to give you a life of fighting. But I'm going to unite you. And that unity is so powerful that the German people said, we're going to give up our own individual will and make his will the will of the people. So, although I don't disagree with my esteemed Itzikel said about Hitler's empathy and all those other elements, the heart of what he asked was one thing. I want to be the dictator. But they were free people. Everybody had freedom in Germany. I could vote for this party, I could vote for that party. There was no one man that had the rule. So even under Kaiser Willy, no one man had the rule. So why would they give up their power? Why would you voluntarily say, I am giving up my power? You know what?
Obviously, they all believe the same thing.
They all believed, they all felt that unity was so important to them that I'm willing to sacrifice my own personal will for the sake of unity. It's got to be somebody. Let it be him. He's the best candidate.
Then you don't have unity. Then you don't believe in it.
Well, you believe in unity, so you're going to give your will.
Correct.
And he's going to represent the will, and it's going to be an iron will. It's going to be with power and force to anyone who doesn't listen. But that will is going to be one will for the German people. So if there's one message that Hitler marketed, it was to unify the power and the will of the German people into one, which is to make him the dictator. He was open about it. He wasn't dishonest. He didn't say, I'm giving you democracy. He didn't say, if you elect the Nazis, you're going to have democracy. He said to the contrary, if you elect me, you're not going to have democracy. You're not going to have your own will. And if you try to have your own will, we'll kill you. We'll kill anyone who doesn't align themselves with us. But I'm going to unify the German people. And he understood enough about the psychology of the German people that it actually worked, that 80 million or whatever the number was at the time, millions and millions and millions, I think it was 80 million today, I forget what the numbers were, went ahead and enough of them gave up their will for the sake of unity and that message of unity. And if you read Mein Kampf, which I have, and you listen to his speeches, which I have, he would say, what was his tagline? Anybody know? Come on, guys. What was Itzikel? What was his tagline? He had a signature line. Ein Volk, ein Führer. One nation, one ruler. Can't have a nation that's divided. Every speech, ein Volk, ein Führer. One nation, I'm going to unite you. Germany was so discouraged after World War II, after World War I, and they had gone through so much that they were willing, they wanted to be united.
So they were vulnerable.
They were vulnerable? And what were they vulnerable to? An innate human desire to be unified. Now,
Almost what we're going through now.
go to your you want to hear more on Hitler, or we're done when we go to the rabbis?
No, I like Hitler.
We're going to stay on Hitler for another minute. So, his speeches, if he wasn't tapping into a natural human nature of what a human being wants, he wouldn't have been successful. So we started before with natural state. If he wasn't zeroing in, getting into the main veins, the main arteries of the human soul with something that spoke to them, they would have kicked the guy the heck out. Who are you? Why would you give up your power? And there were very powerful people who gave up their power. The industrialists gave it up, the army gave it up, the political parties gave it up, the rival parties gave it up, other people who thought they could be the leaders gave it up, unions gave it up, social organizations gave it up.
It never made sense to me. I understand he understood the people and he knew what to say, so they should understand it, but so many different parties give up their power.
Everyone gave it up. Everyone gave it up.
A person that was a loser until then.
He mainlined, like mainlining heroin, he mainlined into the human psyche. And he understood the human psyche need for unity. Now, when I read in the press today, we're going to go to the rabbis in a moment, but when I read in the press how the press attacks democracy as divisive, I hear echoes of Hitler, because I studied Hitler. But I hear that. The press says democracy is divisive, Democrats and Republican fighting, too much fighting, how terrible it is. So what are you asking for? What's your alternative? Well, you want unity, but who's going to make the decisions?
You claim that party's not good, they claim you're not good. There's no.
So somebody's going to make the decisions. So there's an echo. I'm not saying they're Hitlerian directly, but there's an echo of this drive because people really want unity. They want to unify.
It's a perfect, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. If
We
like
could
an
talk
Elon Musk type of guy comes and decides to wipe everyone out with the same exact spiel as Hitler did, it'll 100% work.
Now let's talk about Stalin for a moment. What did Stalin say? What was Stalin's motif?
I mean, Hitler's motif was like a dictator, which is communism is a dictator.
Yeah, but he wasn't a communist. There was a difference. But I want to show you Stalin did the exact same thing.
Hitler wasn't communist, but it's the communism and dictatorship are the same, work under the same belief, under the same umbrella.
How so? Explain that, please.
Where communism is even more of
Oneness.
of
Communists said, you have more money.
Grocery.
You have more
everything
money.
is-
You're not united. You have more than
everything is
this.
one.
Yeah,
Look
but
how
people want
divisive.
that, right?
Communism is even more.
Even more.
But it's under the same umbrella.
The same
of
concept.
unity.
Because
Look
one
how
person-
this guy is taking from this guy. This class is stealing from this class. This guy is stealing from the
The only reason
workers.
Hitler
So that's
didn't-
any monarchy.
No, the only reason Hitler didn't think about communism was because he wasn't Jewish.
So communism's
So what's
cent-
the communism monarchy?
communism. We'll get to monarchy. Communism's central idea was a simple idea: is that the classes are warring. Read Marx. You ever read Karl Marx? Das Kapital. You gotta read it. You gotta read it. It's communism. One idea: the classes are warring. The classes are fighting. Give us your power, and we'll stop the classes from fighting, and that will unify society. People did it again.
A classless society.
Classless society. And then when I hear people say today, this one, Kamala Harris gets up and she says, the food companies are stealing from the people, right? There's echoes of that. I'm not saying she's a communist, but it's echoes of these ideas that refrain throughout human history.
That's
Let's go to the rabbis.
The
So
Democratic Party.
the rabbi's in yeshiva, and the rabbi gets up, and what does the rabbi say? Rabbi say, we really need achdus.
Let him stop with him.
What does the rabbi say? We need achdus. And what happens when there's strife in your family?
Unity.
You want achdus. So this notion of unity, and I'm only going to one of many things.
No, but there's the difference between the rabbis is they're not asking you, maybe in the Chassidish world, but in not the Moshe Feinsteins of the world is not asking you to give up.
Well, the
your
giving
will.
up is the means to the end. I want to know the motivations. This conversation that we're starting to have has a title. It's called The Motivations of the Human Being. I won't even call it the human soul, because if I say the human soul, right away you think
the
it's nothing to do
motivation of a
with you.
human being is happiness.
But that's the
Right, so-
experience. That's not what drives us.
No?
Happiness
No,
and
no,
content.
people-
Happiness and content are the same or it's different. Opposites or on the same.
I want to know what is my drug
My
that
drug?
brings happiness.
A lot of different things.
We're going to talk about. It's not a lot.
No,
It's
but
only
the
4.
Irish, the core.
Well, again,
It's only 4. We're going to go through all 4. We're going to go through. There's only 4. We'll go through the 4. There's only 4.
But
This-
all that is not real. It's just it's a thing that goes away. Meaning, let's say somebody your drive is to be happy. So if I have $100 million, I'll be happy. So now you have $100 million.
Yeah, but no.
You're not happy.
But Tilly,
No, no,
if you had
it-
$100 million,
it's
$100
Tilly, if
million
you had $100 million and you were fighting with your brothers.
The $100 million
All your
is
brothers
not
were fighting.
universal. It's not
Okay.
universal.
No,
I'll
no.
tell you why it's not
So
universal.
achdus
I'll
is-
tell you why.
Is
'Cause I-
happiness.
I'll tell you why $100 million is not universal. I don't want to have $100 million.
Because you already have it.
No, I'm happy to have 99. I'm joking. It's
Yes,
not
it's
universal.
fine.
It doesn't speak to everybody.
Correct.
So the motivations of the human being bring us to a state of happiness.
All right, so-
What are those motivations? So unity, I'm illustrating, there's only an illustration,
100%
is one of them.
Rabbi, me and Tilly were sitting in a meeting with Iron Mountain, and one of the big shots there, he's there 30 years.
Yeah.
He started as a truck driver,
Right.
and today he's top honcho.
Right.
What was his name?
Okay, I knew.
So I asked him, I said, and he manages today hundreds of teams that manage thousands of people. So I said, who do you see within your teams that are truck drivers now that are going to be you in 20 years from now? He says, I identify so many, and I want to bring them up the ladder, and so many of them tell me, I'm happy driving a truck. 5 o'clock, I park my truck, I go home, I don't take the work with me. Once I'm in leadership, I work from home after hours. But like, you know,
they're not
it's
universal.
right.
So back to this. I'm using.
Are you saying that out of all we have the first core value that we're talking about, that everyone feels is unity?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it's a core motivation, 100% for all human beings.
Right, but you to
Now,
something.
now we don't fully understand it yet. We're going to delve into this, but I'm giving you an eye
Because
opener.
I'm running out of time. So.
Yes, we're not going to get this done in a half hour. So we're starting. We're going to continue. I want to give you your homework. Your homework is to try to sit down and make a list of all the human motivations, each one of you independently, that you think motivate human beings universally. Make those lists. It could be 100 items, it could be 50 items, it could be 2, whatever you think are universal motivations, and then try to organize them so that, just like if you were a botanist, or you were an anthropologist, or you were a biologist, you would try to organize your ideas or your findings. If you're working on cancer, you try to organize your findings. So I want you to create a list of, right on the top, universal human motivations that people think will bring them happiness.
This is different from the what is it, Pavlov?
Rabbi, on a
Very different than Pavlov.
Rabbi, on a very superficial level, that's where the whole design industry, fashion industry, casino industry.
You don't get ahead of ourselves. Now, as you put down ideas, try to organize them into roots and branches.
I'm saying, but how superficial?
Well, you could. It's your life. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. So you're going to try to put down all the things that you think will bring happiness, and as you do that,
No, but you're not saying for me. You're saying
not
for the
universal,
world.
it has to be universal.
Right.
But as you do that, organize it into roots and branches so that you can get to the shirish, and you'll see A and B may connect to C, and C is the root of A and B.
So basically,
I think the number one thing right now, I'm taking my BMG, which I had all of
Yeah.
I think purpose. Dr. Sullivan, you life sentiment.
Okay, so put that down.
like respect, like that. Type
He
of
says purpose.
purpose.
He says purpose. Put it down.
Okay.
I think growth.
If you're a ski bum,
Everybody wants to feel like they're growing.
Put it down.
once you lose your sense of
Everybody wants to feel like they're being respected.
He totally is saying growth, growing.
Everybody wants to feel
I don't
respected.
think most people care about growth.
Yeah, a lot of people don't care about growth. But we're gonna go make your list. I don't want to tell you how to do
Growth
your
is
list.
relative. It is. A lot of people don't feel everybody wants to feel like they're doing something. So it's purpose and growth.
Well,
kind of-
sometimes a person himself doesn't want to pursue it, but he appreciates it in others. In other words,
So
he
that's the
thinks
same
he
thing.
thinks it's good, but he's not motivated himself to do
So,
it.
but he understands it, so it's still a
Right,
universal
right.
thing.
For example, a guy may say, "I'm fighting with my wife and kids, and this and that, and my partners, and I don't get along with anybody. I'm a hermit. I'm living in the woods. I'm sending out bombs, but it's really not the way life."
because he's mentally imbalanced.
Right. There's not the way life should be lived. The way life should be lived
100%.
is.
But he understands it's still universal.
By the way, let's take the Unabomber. Why did the Unabomber send out bombs?
Because he's retarded.
No, he
was a
wasn't
very smart man.
brilliant.
He was a very smart man. I
He
read
wasn't
his,
retarded. You know what he
bio.
believed? You ready for this one? He believed that you and your kids would sit at the table together and technology would divide you from your kids. He believed that people would be sitting with their iPhones, not talking to each other. He believed Ted Kaczynski, you ever read his manifesto?
Yeah, right, yeah.
You got to read his manifesto. He believed that human beings would be divided by technology from their natural selves. And he said, I have to stop it. So he said, what can I do? What can I do? The only way I could stop it is by killing enough technologists to stop it. So a little echo of Hitler, because he wanted unity. You wanted that sense of harmony. So we're going to adjourn here because it's 1:15, and we could. Eitan has to run, and I don't want to do this without everybody together, because then we're going to be missing pieces of this.